we run a survey every 6 months or so to try and get a pulse from our customer base and also sort of prospective customers. Would you rather use AI and pay a lot less, or would you rather work with a human? And overwhelmingly, the answer comes back, we signed up to work with a human, not AI, and we're willing to pay a premium for that. So I actually think, this is maybe a little bit of a counterintuitive point, but from from a certain extent, some services and experiences, the human element will actually end up being sort of the premium experience that people are willing to pay more for, even if technology can do a big chunk of it.
Welcome to another episode of SaaS Scale. I have a guest this time from FinTech world. Anders, welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and the company.
Sure. Armand, thanks for having me on. So my name is Anders Jones. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Facet. We are a direct-to-consumer fintech company, and we do financial planning and financial advice on a subscription membership basis. So we don't charge people to manage assets. We don't take commissions on products. We're a membership that helps you live a better financial life every single day.
Fantastic. And you told me in the past that you had a journey. You were in Boston, then you moved to Silicon Valley, then you ended up right now. Where are you? You're in DC area or some other places?
I'm in South Florida right now, but
South Florida. Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah,
tell us a little bit about the journey and how did you end up starting the company?
sure. So I grew up in Boston, as you said, and my plan all along was to go and work on Wall Street. Unfortunately, I graduated from college in the spring of 2009, which, with the exception of COVID, was probably the worst time in recent history to graduate. So there were no finance jobs to be had, but I was already out in California. I went to Stanford undergrad, so I was sort of in the heart of Silicon Valley. And what do you do out there when there's no jobs to be had? You do a startup. I joined the early team of a company that eventually became known as LiveRamp in the advertising technology space. And we had a really great run for 3 or 4 years, and then sold that in 2013. And then I was doing some early stage venture investing following that, and got very interested in what was happening in fintech and wealth tech. So this was right around the time when the first set of digital advice platforms, also known as the robo-advisors, started getting real traction. So think about companies like Wealthfront, which actually just went public last week, Betterment, Personal Capital, which got bought a couple of years ago. These were the first set of companies that basically said we might be able to do an advice business without human advisors. And so started poking around in that space and thinking that there was a lot of opportunity to start a company doing something similar. And then the real aha moment was in late 2015. The Obama administration tried to pass a rule called the fiduciary rule. And basically what the rule said was, if you're a financial advisor, you would be legally obligated to act in the best interests of your clients.
Hmm.
Which, just pause on that for a second. So that was up until 2015. That wasn't a rule, which is crazy to me. What's even crazier is that the rule didn't pass, and so actually to this day, there is no sort of like blanket, legal obligation for an advisor to act in the best interest of their clients. And the reason the rule didn't pass is because the industry pushed back really hard and basically said, if you do this, there's about 8 million households that are going to lose their financial advisor relationship because the advisor can't afford to both service them and act in their best interest at the same time. So it's basically like, yeah, there's 8 million people that we're kind of screwing, but like it's better for them to be screwed and still have access to an advisor than not at all. So all of which is to say, we kind of looked at all this and said, okay, there's definitely an opportunity here. And we sort of diagnosed the problem in three different parts. So part one was the cost
Mhm.
of financial advice is too high. Unless you have more than $1 million, your money is better spent figuring out a DIY solution than actually working with an advisor. Number two is the way in which advisors charge, which historically has been either a percentage of assets that they manage or a commission on a product that they sell you. It excludes like 100 million households in the US that just don't have the manageable asset level to be interesting to a traditional advisor. So even though these are folks that by and large would happily pay for advice, literally the way in which advisors charge just doesn't set them up to be able to work with them. And then lastly, and this is a point that we've sort of developed a view on over time, is that the vast majority of um, advice that advisors give is just not very useful. It's very focused on saving for retirement and managing money. And yeah, those are two very important things, but it's about 5% of what really good financial planning can do to help you live a better life today, not just, 30 years in the future when you're walking down the beach and happily retired. So we put all those pieces together and basically built a membership. So it's a subscription membership. You can kind of choose your own adventure in terms of what level. We have three different tiers. But we do everything from sort of basic financial advice, work with a dedicated advisor. We will manage money for you. We don't charge extra for it, nor do we require it. Uh, we'll build your financial roadmap and we'll help you through every decision, big or small, from a financial standpoint. And then at the higher end, we do everything up to like notarizing your estate plan and filing your taxes. So for $7,500 a year, you basically have a family office at your service. And so, we started the company about 10 years ago and, we've scaled it really nicely. We're working nationally now and, have had some good success. So there's Facet in a
Fantastic.
nutshell. Yeah.
No, the growth has been tremendous, and congratulations for taking such a journey and getting here. It's very, it's not super easy for for companies, for software companies to really have such a growth that you have shown. Definitely great. Now, one question comes to mind, and that's really looking at the last 20, 30 years with all of the software advancement and then internet and then mobile and then cloud and software eating the world and everything going toward software and automation of that sort. Now, a new question from some people's perspective, a much bigger question has emerged, and that's about really AI. And if AI
Yeah.
is going to eat the world now, and everything is going to be replaced by AI. So, in the mind of many people, when it comes to these kind of decisions, financial decisions and advice, people may feel like AI might be a good fit to, be part of the mix one way or the other. How do you see that, and what's your vision about really AI, in particular about financial advising kind of role, and then in general about really, where SaaS companies are going to end as a result of AI?
This is a big question, and it's an important one because I think we're living through this sort of platform shift that's happening right now, and it's happening
Hmm.
faster than any other platform shift I think that has existed in human history. So, I guess maybe as a starting point, AI for financial advice. We run a survey every 6 months or so to try and get a pulse from our customer base and also sort of prospective customers. What, would you rather use AI and pay a lot less, or would you rather work with a human? And overwhelmingly, the answer comes back, we signed up to work with a human, not AI, and we're willing to pay a premium for that. So I actually think, this is maybe a little bit of a counterintuitive point, but from from a certain extent, some services and experiences, the human element will actually end up being sort of the premium experience that people are willing to pay more for, even if technology can do a big chunk of it. So, there are companies out there that are making bets that AI is going to replace the financial advisor completely. For a small segment of the market, that might be true. I don't really see it, and in the data that we look at, we don't see it. But I also think, specifically in financial services, it's a big enough market that both can be true. And so just, from a facet sort of strategic standpoint, the way that we look at it is, we continue to see the value prop of the human advisor being front and center, but using AI to augment the human, either to make them more efficient or to make the quality of their advice or the quality of the member experience better, we're spending a lot of time and energy and money thinking about that. Um, and I think that that's a good segue to sort of the next part of your question, which is how do we think about um, you know the sort of like the sort of future of software and the future of sort of technology in the enterprise. And if you use us as a sort of as an example of an enterprise, we're there's certainly some AI happening in the service delivery, and we've built some stuff that makes the service delivery better. um, but where a huge amount of the innovation is going is in the actual sort of like core functions of the business. And so I would say our SaaS spend has decreased in the last year as we've built our own internal AI tools to automate workflows. We've built a bunch of agentic um, processes. Um, I'll give you like one stat. At the beginning of Q2 this year, we had 15 open roles, open headcount, not financial advisors, but things like, growth marketing or, on the finance team or on the people and HR team. But at the beginning of Q3, we had two open roles and we hadn't hired anyone.
Mm,
So, and just like in that one quarter, we were able to shift from, you know, we need 13 heads to we can use agents to do a lot of this work. 20-ish $1 million media budget, and we have four people, 3.5 people on our growth team, on our growth
mm,
marketing team.
mhm.
It's, I think if you rewound 2 years ago, you wouldn't see people who are, or you wouldn't see companies that have that level of efficiency or leanness.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And do you see a day that in the next 5 to 10 years, as some people may think, that finally we are going to get to a place that the role of human in the whole equation is very minimal because we are three components there. There is software, there is AI, and there is human. And these three are working with each other together to make things happen. And the percentage of each component in this equation matters.
Yeah.
And I wonder if, from your perspective, this is really the way you see it, that software is growing and then AI part is growing, that is essentially working with the models and the trained model, data models, and everything. And the software, of course, there are some algorithms there, and then there is human that is kind of putting that intuition there and just managing the whole thing. um, do you see any day that essentially in the next 5 years, talking about the next 5 years, not the next 20 years, but the next 5 years, that actually human may not play as big of a role as it is today? Or you see these three will be together for the next 5 years as you see it on the financial advisory roles?
It's funny because if you rewind 5 years ago and you think about like that was before ChatGPT, it was before any kind
Hmm.
of real generative AI had sort of hit um, the sort of collective psyche. So presumably we're on an exponential innovation curve right now. And so if that's the case, then like what happened the last 5 years is going to be, 10x magnified in the next 5 years. So like who knows, right?
Yeah.
Like, in fairness, to answer your question, I think that a couple things are going to happen. I think one is the role of software and the role of AI is going to change significantly, or AI is going to change the role of software. Um, if you think about like, and just sort of getting a little bit into the operational weeds, if you think about like if we're building an agent to do a process internally at Facet, um, the ability of that agent to do the process is really hinges on the ability of that agent to get the correct data from the correct systems at the correct time. And so if you think about like a SaaS product that we built, like I'll give you like a live example to kind of bring this to life. So we use Gong to record our calls. And we're an SEC registered company. We have to record all of our member calls, but so we use Gong to record it, and we get and we build, we get transcripts of all the calls, and then we use an agent to go in and summarize the call transcript and basically set follow-up action items for the advisor, for the member, and then send any correspondence that needs to happen. So like, say that one of the things that comes out of it is, hey, you need to open an emergency savings account. The agent can actually kick off the process of opening that account, and it can all happen automatically in the background, which is really cool. The challenge is that if anything is wrong in there, then that's a big problem. And especially in a business like ours, which is dealing with people's money, like you have to be right 100 times out of 100. And so, as I think about it, it's like, well, I actually don't, Gong, one of the things that they do is they have this UI that is very easy to use and teams can configure and use it for training and all that sort of thing. That's actually meaningless to us, right? Because we've built our own set of stuff and like, like the amount of money that Gong has probably spent on work on UI actually has basically zero value to us. But Gong is a system of record for the transcripts and the data and the live conversations is incredibly valuable to
Mhm.
us. All of which is to say, I think that the value prop of software is going to change from, hey, here's this great UI that is, I think back to like the days of like the email marketing software, right? Where it's like a big sales point was, okay, how can you have a person or a team very easily go in and build marketing or email marketing campaigns? That doesn't really matter that much anymore, right? An agent's going to do it anyways. And so, but like, man, you really need that database to be correct, your email database to be correct, and the opt outs need to be managed well. And so like, so that's gonna that the interaction and the interplay between AI and software is going to change. Um, and then the human piece, I mean, that's the big open question, right? And my view on this, and obviously I'm a bit biased because I run a company that's making a bet on humans. But my view on this is that it's really going to come down to consumer preference. And I think that we are not going to live in a world of build it and they will come. I think we're living in a world of certain people are going to want to use AI for certain things, and certain people are going to not want to use AI for those same things, but maybe different things. And so I think the trick is to just be in a market, if you're an operator, be in a market that's big enough that there's room for there's the segments of both or that represent both preferences. There's enough. It's a big enough market that'll support both of those segments.
Yeah, no, well said. And uh, how do you feel about, for example, uh, general software applications versus applications become more and more narrowly, very well defined from use case perspective, right? So there are two aspects to software applications. One, personalization on the user perspective, that they want to be personalized as much as possible, and AI is helping for us to really make our software and services more personalized. But there is one aspect on the vendor side that vendors may feel that I need to create maybe different flavors of my software because I have to have different focus areas rather than one general version that supports a more broad use case. How do you see that being impacted by the new age of software and AI?
I mean, this might not be a popular view among some of your listeners, but I think that the sort of generalist AI wrappers are probably not going to make it. Like if you're building an AI wrapper on top of a platform, on top of an LLM that that is taking on like a specific, like there's some stuff going on in like the legal space or like, um, you know, uh, I'm trying to think of others, but it's like there are a bunch of these sort of wrapper AI companies, and I don't see the moat. I mean, they're totally reliant on the supply side, and then they have these then it really just becomes a distribution game, which can get turned off at any second. So like to me, that just isn't gonna that's not a sustainable business model. I think that the real value is going to accrue to certainly the LLMs. Uh, is it a winner take all market? Probably not. Are there probably too many that exist today? Are there some that exist today that won't exist in 5 years? Probably. I'm definitely not willing to take a guess on which one because who knows. But that's like a very commoditized kind of race to the bottom. or race to the top, depending on how you look at it. Um, and then I think the other place where value is really going to accrue is to first party companies or companies that generate a lot of first party proprietary data and that figure out how to use AI really well. And so, again, I'm talking my own book a little bit here, but companies like ours that have our value prop is actually has nothing to do with AI. It's we deliver financial advice. We just happen to use AI in a smart way with a lot of proprietary data that only we have because we generate it. And and like we're figuring out how to use that to make the service better, both from a quality of advice and a member experience standpoint, and more efficient, so we can deliver it at a lower cost, and and make a reasonable margin on it. The sort of point to be there is that I think the other group that actually stands to make a ton of money is consultants, which is also maybe counterintuitive because I think a lot of these big companies have no idea how to implement AI.
Hmm.
And like you can't like if there's one sort of piece of wisdom that I would impart, is that you can't just go buy AI the same way that you can buy software. Like it is a deep, deep, deep integration to gather the data, get it all in the right place, figure out what workflow you want to apply it to, and then you have to train it on an ongoing basis. Like it's not just set it and forget it. Like there's there's a sort of tending to the garden component of actually of using it, that you have to, it's a living and breathing thing, and every interaction you have and every piece of data you generate, you actually need to tag it and help the model understand it. So the consultants are going to make a ton of money helping companies figure this out.
Yeah, good point. Uh, Thinking about Facet, uh, there is a value prop there. There is a reason for the company. But amongst all of the things that you have experienced in the last maybe 9, 10 years that you have had the company, uh, there have been some cases that you see, wow, that was a great impact, and we made a great impact, and that makes you as a kind of co-founder and CEO to have the energy to run the company with full energy. Where is that kind of a spot that is your sweet spot? You make the highest impact, and you feel like that's really where I see that we are making great impact, and it makes me feel like we are not just a business of running it for the sake of running a business, but we are also positively impactful in this regard.
It's a huge part of our founding story and a huge part of, I think, everyone who works here, why they wake up in the morning. We're making financial advice available to people who wouldn't be able to afford it or access it otherwise.
Hmm.
And, we're basically taking something that has been reserved for the wealthy and the high net worth, and we're making it more accessible. We're making it better. And, the cool part of my job is, I get to see on a daily basis, we get to celebrate things that we've helped our members do. The number one thing that people come to us for is starting a family. So,
Hmm.
you think about like you're in your mid to late 30s and you're getting married, you're buying a house, you're having your first kid. And these are all, we kind of laugh and say these are like the adult decision, your first set of adult financial decisions that you have to make. And that's our bread and butter. Like that's the number one reason why people come to us. And we actually kind of laugh and talk about our advisors as therapists with calculators, because so much of what they do actually has nothing to do with financial planning. It's about the sort of behavioral and the emotional component. But um, I mean, on a daily basis, we get to see how we're helping people achieve big goals and big milestones and frankly live a better life. We often say there is no wellness without financial wellness, and that's what we're here for. So it's a and we didn't talk about this, but we're a totally virtual company. We've got, I don't know, probably 220 people or so, and spread across 42 different states and a couple of provinces in Canada. And we don't have a headquarters or an office. And one of the only ways you can keep a virtual culture strong is having that really, really intense mission alignment like we do.
That's great. Uh, all of us in high school, we have been taught different topic subjects, some of them complex, some of them easier. We never really had a course, at least I don't remember. I had a course about finance management in high school that essentially is very actually helpful to everyone, right? So this is even better than chemistry. Probably can serve me in the future if I had a very simple basic case. We had Monopoly to play as a game, and that helped us a little bit about understand. We had other games, that board games that probably simulates life, like life. But really, it's interesting to see that companies like yours, if they can even democratize further and even have something for lower kind of entry of the market, even as a game, something like a beta version, whatever it is that helps people, as you said, very important for people to have that kind of a skill set and resources to manage their kind of finance uh, and wealth. I'm going to ask you a random question at this point, and that is, if you had 2 weeks to really go and take a vacation at this time, which city would you have picked out of the cities that you know that you would like to go and just visit anywhere in the world?
Um, so yeah, one of the the pros and cons of being a founder is that you never really take a vacation. And I'm fortunate that I love what I do, so I don't mind it. But I go to Montana every year for a week or two in the fall, and the sort of tagline on the state is the state's motto is the last best place, and I would say I kind of agree with that. It's a wonderful place to just go and be out with nature, and I mean it's a stunningly beautiful place. So as far as cities go, I don't know, Missoula or Bozeman, I guess, but I would be, 2 weeks in Montana sounds fantastic right now.
Any particular season is your favorite?
I love the fall. Yeah,
Fall.
when
Yeah,
it's
you mentioned that. Yeah,
you get the warm days and the cold nights. I think that's wonderful.
great. Uh, and my last question for you is, if there is a book that personally or professionally you like and it has had a positive impact on what you do that you would like to recommend.
So it's a series of books. It's a set of four. It's called The Great Mental Models by Shane Parrish. And I got to say, I discovered this sort of resource during COVID. He runs an online community called Farnham Street, which, funny enough, it's named after the street on which Berkshire Hathaway has its headquarters in Omaha. And
Hmm.
so he's a disciple of Buffett and Munger, and sort of their ways of thinking, and the whole idea is a way to help people make better decisions and just think about things in better ways. And so it's four books. It's split into kind of four different groups of topics, and I've read it many times, and you can always improve your decision making, and this is a tool that it's a book that gives you a set of tools to do so.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And also, thanks for joining us at SaaS Scaled. I appreciate your time and your thoughts and sharing your insights with us. Uh, and hope to see you again in the future.
Thanks for having me.